Good afternoon and a warm welcome to everyone for our webinar this afternoon on Global Technology Trends in Hospitality, moderated by our HOD, Ms. Sabiha Ghazali, tete-a-tete with Mrs. Alifia Sura. Over to you, Sabia ma'am.
Thank you, Kanas. Well, a very good afternoon, my dear students, principals, colleagues, and friends. It's nice to be right in front of you. I don't know, after eons, I would say, not even after ages, because, this is like our virtual life happening. And so, what a better, I mean, technology is a better topic than any other topic in this era of pandemic. Any which ways, it's a nice rainy day today in Mumbai, Alifia, you being in Dubai. So just giving you a glimpse of our rains in Mumbai. And after the scorching heat, the temperature drop is such a sigh of relief. I must really tell you that. So here we are yet again with a series of informative webinars that help to enhance your expanse of knowledge. Like the management guru, Mr. Peter Drucker says, knowledge has power. It controls access to opportunity and advancement. Y'all being the millennials, rather not even millennials, I think y'all are Generation Z, have been born in the era of technological boom. And where life without it is unfathomable, not just for you guys, but also for our generation. And moreover, y'all are also the future hoteliers. And so today we have a session on the most integral part of our personal and professional life, that is global technology trends in hospitality. We have on board our very own Mrs. Alifia Sura, very own because she is a friend. We share the same alma mater, and we've been batchmates, and she's also been our ex-colleague. So that's the kind of connection that Alifia has with us. Well, Alifia has 18 years of hands-on experience, churning over $100 million in sales revenue. She's the founder and chief strategy officer of the 10x sales at Rooftop Sales, and a global strategy coach with the 10x CEO. She's involved in automating business, particularly the hospitality sector. She started selling early on in college, rather school at an early age of 16 to earn her own pocket money. Alifia and like I mentioned, Alifia and I have been batchmates at the business school, and hence we share our alma mater. And she further holds a master's degree in accounts and tourism. She's awarded the title of Girl Guide of India by the then President, Mr. R.K. Narayan, and continues to contribute to the British guiding and scouting units in Dubai district. As you know, after her marriage in the year 2004, Alifia, you can correct me if I'm wrong there, 2004, she shifted to Dubai. And ever since then, she's been in Dubai. She enjoys reading and traveling and during her leisure time. Alifia taught at ANJUMAN-I-ISLAM'S for a brief duration of 1 year, way back in 2003. It sounds like some, ancient era, I believe. 2003 was long ago, Alifia. And so, Alifia, welcome back to Anjuman. It's probably after 17 long, long years that you are on board with ANJUMAN-I-ISLAM'S again. You're taking charge of being a teacher all over again in Anjuman. So, Alifia, all over to you. You can go on.
Thank you, Sabi. I really appreciate this opportunity. I want to thank the management of ANJUMAN-I-ISLAM, the principal, Harish, Rukshana ma'am, and the entire team that literally was my first ever experience into the corporate world. And this is where I built my entire foundation back in 2003 when I was a fresh graduate after an MBA college. And ANJUMAN-I-ISLAM opened arms and welcomed me as a lecturer for management of marketing, sales, HR, communication, and that's where this entire journey started. But what really happened in those early years was the seed of hospitality that was ingrained into me. And this seed, what I've seen from the last 18 years, is a seed that never leaves you. Because once you become a hotelier, we in our industry today say after 18 years that if you're a hotelier once, you'll become a hotelier for life. and this never leaves you. And it's such a beautiful family that we literally build. And there are so many people today out of the hospitality back in 2003 when I actually started, have today reached bigger milestones and much bigger positions, even at global levels. And they never leave this industry. You can, so I want to congratulate you all to take this step and get into this ambitious industry of hospitality, which is ever booming and ever growing, no matter pandemic or not. This is one industry with the more and more of globalization. It's only going to take you to the next level. And congratulations to all of you to take this as an industry which builds. I don't think there's any other industry that builds the real life skills in any human about food and cleanliness, right? That's what the core foundation of hospitality management teaches you. Which is literally life skills. You can go anywhere and still live like a king. Because if these are the skills you get, then this is all that any humanity needs. So well done, you all. And I wish you all the best of luck as I get started with something about technology. And since you guys are, like Sabi already said, you guys are the generation Y or the upcoming generation Z, technology for all of us is ingrained. Right? And typically the next generation Z, which is more and more, they're born with iPads in their hand, right? So this is the only thing that is keeping and moving ahead in the industry. And core industry or not, technology is something that all of us want to ingrain and get the most of. So let me share with you today a little bit about what's happening in the global hospitality world with technology. So Kenaz, you can share, I've just put together a few things that could open your mind, and then hopefully you can have questions and see how what you're learning and what the reality in the industry is, and try to connect with it in however you can. Okay, if there's any questions, do keep throwing them in the chat, and we will have a casual question answer round in the end of this workshop. Great. So here we are, global trends in hospitality technology. Next slide.
Hi, Connie.
How may I help you? I am Hilton's newest concierge in training, thanks to a pilot project between Hilton and ABM.
Hospitality is a really interesting use case for Watson because inevitably you have people who need information. They need to find a restaurant, they need to find a park, they need to get directions.
We operate in a very crowded industry, so innovation is key. Innovation has to help solve problems operationally. Innovation has to help our customers. It's an opportunity to really delight customers in ways that they don't expect.
We're really excited about being able to build out the cognitive learning capabilities with IBM and Watson at the same time as we have Connie interacting with our guests.
It's much more natural. It's something that people can identify with. It's much more comfortable, and something that allows them to have a more insightful interaction, actually.
It allows us to really serve people, understand what they're looking for, sense their emotion, sense their level of urgency.
To be able to take robotics and artificial intelligence and introduce it to the hotel business as a way of helping us operate more efficiently, helping us to delight our customers, it's a big dream.
What excites me about this partnership is the courage of Hilton to try something new, the courage of Wavelaser to build on the technology. So that courage is going to push us to continue to advance Connie. And that's also going to allow the humans who work in those hotels to go beyond that to help people even further by having Connie do the basic things.
Goodbye. I hope to be able to help you with Hilton Hotels again soon.
So alarming, isn't it? But this is what the reality is. Technology, and sometimes it can be intimidating because here we are learning at school and college some core foundations and core fundamentals of hospitality, where the world is completely moving towards being contactless. So as per this research that was conducted, more and more guests, and I think Generation Z will be testimony to it. People just don't want to anymore meet people at all. Everything wants to be done at the touch of fingertips. Everything wants to be done without really meeting or calling or speaking to people. And this is what's happening more and more. So we always say in our world, that there was few years back, it was all about meeting people in person. But today, everything's about getting things done on a WhatsApp, on an email, on a Facebook Messenger, on social media, without having the need to call or meet people. Guests don't want to call housekeeping anymore. People are just putting your QR code and placing orders. You don't want to meet a face anymore. That's what's coming to the next generation. So what's happening to the jobs and hospitality? How are today's students going to become and equip themselves to this new changing trend and this new, will the front office completely be wiped out? Will the guest relations not be needed at all for people? Will chatbots and technology just take over answering questions about what sort of food you want or what's going to happen with this new technological upgrade, if you will, that's happening? And how can today's students and today's new generation that's coming into the industry equip and upgrade yourself to be ready for this next boost? Are we in the right place? Who wants to know more? So give me a sign, give me a chat. Say if you want to hear more, say yay, we want to hear more. Let's say a yay in a chat box. Is everyone awake? Let's see how many are awake. We've got about 206 apparently out here. Let's see how many of us are awake. Is the chat loud? Okay.
Yes,
okay,
yes.
Hands. That's nice. I'm going to be looking at the chat box and let's see how many are really aware, alive and awake with us. There are only a few, so many are not awake. Is everyone interested to hear more about how the technology is going to take over the hospitality and what really is happening in the hospitality world? And somewhere you just want to be mindful about how you can adapt to this change that's coming up. So adapting to the change and being prepared is better than being shocked. Do you agree? Excellent. So let's have the next slide, Kenaz. Kenaz? Can we change? Yeah, okay, cool. So hospitality today is moving all over the world and it's moving to places that's not even traditional. There are hotels coming in the middle of the water. There are hotels coming underwater. There are hotels coming up in the sky. There are restaurants that are happening where you fly to them and make it happen. These are places where you don't necessarily have access to the technology. Not every time do you have access to it. What do you do? And how do you make a standard functioning of a property happen? But that's where you want to think bigger than life and think larger than life. Move away from the standard conventional thing that we always have. Kenaz? Kenaz?
She's changed the slide already, Olivia. Yeah.
Oh, she's changed. Okay, so I think there's a lag because by the time it reflects on my screen, it takes time.
Yes, it is.
Okay, cool. No worries then. So there was a research which actually said that 75% of the people actually want to see the room before they take and book it. And virtual reality has become the next available option. And it's already become all over accepted and it's happening all over the hotels right now. Global brands have made it a standard, which allows people when they come into the front desk, just wear glasses of virtual reality and see really what's the standard room like, what's the deluxe room like, what room like, and then make a booking based on what's available. So guests today want, Kenaz, you can change. So guests today want, authority and choice in terms of where they move in. Contactless is the next buzzword. People want to not meet people, not stand in queues, right from the time you check in. In fact, today, there's technology already applied in the global hotels like Marriott's and Hilton's and IHG, as well as most of the big brands like Residor. These guys have already applied technology, which as soon as you make a booking, you get a QR code, and that becomes your room key. So when you land at the hotel, and that even tracks how far you are, have you landed the porter comes and picks you up and things like that. As soon as you come, your checking is already done and you're ready to move into the room. Next, Kenas. So there are robots that is happening more and more all the time. 75% of the guests want to select their own rooms. Yeah, next. Face recognition, and these are the sort of, because passport scans are needed in some countries as a prerequisite to check in, right? So there is technology which is now working on face recognitions rather than just a QR code and things, to just make it more and more secure. With more and more globalization, security in hospitality is always the most important area. Next. Your mobile phone becomes the room key. This is already a reality. So you don't need to anymore go to the front desk. Your booking and your reservation gives you a QR code, and this becomes your mobile key. So you already get your room number, you know exactly where you're going. In fact, as soon as you enter the hotel, there is a location pin that will guide you to your room. So you don't even need to ask anyone which side is this particular room or which side. So if it's a big property which has apartments and villas and residentials and different towers and stuff, your location pin that activates from the mobile will guide you to the. In fact, this location pin also helps you right from the time you land at the airport, takes you to the hotel. And the hotel knows that you already come in and it directly checks you in. And that's how intelligent. So literally you're wiping out the entire slot of people that were at the front desk and the guest relations. It's literally going away, and it's going to go away more and more, like it or not. But that's exactly what's happening in the world. So how and what would you do to adapt to this new change in technology? And technology is becoming the key word. Next. The room, once you're inside the room, the rooms are becoming extremely smart as well. Everything is connected. So simple things like your guest experience, like what sort of temperature you like to have in your room, what temperature of water everything has become IoT. The Internet of Things is what you call it. And this has become the new common world, because it's all about knowing your guest's name and all about knowing his preferences, how much spice he likes, or how much cold his coffee is, or what sort of dinner he prefers, or what salad does he like. Everything is today getting recorded into the property management systems, the IQ of every hotel. So everything about the guest is getting more and more recorded, right from the temperature of the room to the temperature of the water to what you want for breakfast. It's all automated and recorded. Especially when you move to different hotels all around the world, this intelligence is passed on. In fact, the world is moving towards open technology and open standard. So even if you move from a Marriott to a Starwood or to an Accor hotel, you will still be able to pick this information. So hotels are getting not only chain focused, but more and more customer focused. So you customer as a person is going to have the freedom to choose an Intercon one time and to choose a Marriott next time and choose a Hilton the third time. And still his information and his preference is going to, because everything is coming into common technologies like Oracles and the Microsoft and the IBM Watsons. These guys are going to take over the hospitality user experience. And they are going to make this available on a common cloud rather than a chain specific. So a little bit of a challenge to the loyalty programs of the chains, but at the most, we're all looking at having the guest experience becoming more and more powerful. Next. So one more thing, your mobile phone, which becomes your key. So there's two ways of doing this, and this is not tomorrow. This is already happening. This is happening in almost 40 to 50% of the big chains already in their room. This has become the brand standard, a global brand standard. It's called as a smart room technology, the building automation and the smart home. It's called guest room management systems, which has become a basic functionality right now. So there is two ways of doing it. You will have a QR code, or you download the hotel app on your phone. But again, sometimes guests don't like to download manually the hotel apps into their phone. So once you download the hotel app into your phone, that app becomes your remote control for the TV, that will switch off the curtains, that will switch off the lights, that will do master power off, it will do, do not disturb, or it will do, clean my room, or it will say housekeeping service. Everything happens from your phone if you download the hotel app. If guests don't want to do that, they give a mobile phone in the room as well. So now this mobile phone is like, take me out, I'm your free travel buddy. So that's the mobile phone that's available in the guest room. So for the bigger, it's like you're literally your butler service. So now you don't need to call. Are the guest room phones anymore needed? Question mark. So literally this is moving away from the guest room phones, and people are giving either a mobile phone or an iPad into every room. And this becomes your room control key, your master clock and master key, if you will. One important thing to understand here is there are different generations that travel into the hotels. When there are older generation, they're not very comfortable with so much of technology. So what the hotels today are yet doing is they do give the conventional, lights on the wall. They do definitely give the conventional switches and stuff like that. And at the same time, they give this convenience model as the mobile phone in the room, or allow you to download an app. So they are currently doing both, but technology is going to educate people more and more. So the older generation, which may be a bigger travel segment, or the younger generation, which is becoming the new travel segment, they are both being addressed to, and their needs are both being addressed to. But having said that, technology is moving where this is going to become the next common way of operations. So no more will the things on the wall, and that will become the new basic, to have it on your own phone and your own device. This is where the world is moving in hospitality right now. Okay, so do take your questions down, and we can answer questions in the end. Next. Okay, so this is the television in the room. One thing hotels drive towards doing all the time is replicate your home experience when you're in the hotel. So there was a time when in the past, when we want to have a luxury experience, we go to hotel rooms and stay. We're like, oh yeah, wow, and stuff like that. We enjoy the hotel. But today, the experience we have at our own homes is a lot more comfortable than hotels. Hotels are getting more and more challenged to live up to that same experience a person would have in his own home. What do I mean? I mean, when I switch on my mobile, my Wi-Fi is automatically connected. What I mean is when I switch on my TV, my Netflix automatically works. When I switch on this thing, if I want to use Prime or whatever, or if I want to listen to my music, everything automatically works. When I'm at home, I don't have to do any sort of settings. What the hotels are struggling with more and more is, how can I make this seamless for my guests when they come to my hotel room? So can I walk into a hotel and have my Wi-Fi automatically connected? Do I need to struggle to put in that SSID, put the passwords, put the logins? Can I just switch on the TV and not be forced to watch the movies, the old dated movies that the hotel has in the room? Can I choose my own content? I have my own access. I have my own subscriptions. I'm going to use my own Netflix account. I'm going to use the own music that I like on Spotify. Why should I be forced to listen to what the hotel wants to show me? Right? So when you especially go to places like China, you go to Korea, or certain language specific countries, you may not have the content of material that you really like. The whole hotel have been spending a lot of money to get maximum content for all over the world, catering to everybody's needs, right? But today, the world has moved towards bring your own device. So do you really need that TV anymore in the room? Kenaz, you can do another enter. TVs are probably going to be wiped off. Just like the telephone in the room today is completely useless. Today, people don't like such small TVs. At our own homes, we have much larger sizes of TV. There was a time in the past where TV was a luxury in a hotel, which we didn't necessarily have at our own houses. But today, people are used to a much bigger screen. In fact, mirrors are becoming the next TV, where it's like, the movie, the big, the Mission Impossible sort of movies, right? The walls are becoming So the luxury suites and stuff are having a full wall of entertainment. They call it the entertainment wall in properties. So no more is a small size TV making much sense. And again, TVs are changing technology so often that they start obsoleting themselves very fast, which is a capital cost that the hotel is incurring, which is very, very fast burning out. Because you've had LCD TVs, we had CRTs before. Today we've come to LEDs. Now we're already coming to 3D TVs and stuff like that. And today we're coming with VR glasses on TVs and stuff. So this is one piece of a capital expense that the hotel owners are spending, but it's going away more and more, right? When it's obsoleting itself a lot. So it's all about bring your own device, and it's all about connecting and enjoying your own experience that you want. Hotels are trying to replicate the home experience in the room as much as possible. Next. Like I said, chatbots and widgets. People don't want to anymore talk to room service or anything. They just want to send a message to the right department, and they expect it to get responded to. So some of them want to call, and that's absolutely available. But a lot of things are done even before you come into the hotel more and more today. So exactly which room you're going to stay in, exactly what sort of bedding you're going to get, what pillows you want, all of this is done even before you enter the property. And this is becoming the new next norm. So it's all about real time. It's all about give me my answer when I want it. And it's all about don't worry about how I sound or how I look. So next. Can I?
It's done already.
Okay, just one time. Okay. Of course, we all know blockchain, right? And cryptocurrency. This has not yet become too obviously used, but it's a very short-term future that people will be accepting stay through cryptocurrency, and payments will be done on crypto for hotel room bookings like everything else, even flights and stuff. This is a very close and near future, and this is the next way of the payment currency that's going to happen. Next. Even talking the next slides I'm talking about. So it's about the gyms and stuff. Again, gyms and yoga has become the lifestyle way of working. Here again, people don't want to necessarily see people. They don't want to schedule their timing according to the availability of the instructor, if you will. So it can be on a bigger screen. This screen is called the video wall solution, which is becoming more and more common into meeting rooms. In the past, we used to have projectors, and the projectors have that big screen falling out and things like that. This projector has become an old trend because it does not have the clarity that you need. So for example, if someone wants to showcase and project Excel sheets, which have a lot of content and needs that crisp clarity on the screen, it does not come in a projector so well, right? And because the LEDs and LCDs have become so much cheaper and affordable, people just put these high definition LCDs, which is a lot more clear, and they add these screens together, which makes it like a video wall, and they put it up. In fact, for ballrooms and big wedding function halls and things like that, LEDs have become the next level of screens that you have. And screens is everything because you want to have that user experience. You don't want to have, so that's the new technology, and automation is everything that is happening. So next, I think we're done now. So that's what I had to share. This is just a little bit of a food for thought in terms of where the technology is going, and I just wanted to throw a few ideas and just open your mind to the new things that's if you will happening in the industry, and just excite you guys with the potential of where this industry is going and the speed at which the industry is changing. In the last 15 years that I've been associated with the hospitality technology industry in the in Dubai as well as in India. I've seen, and now in the world, right? Because we're setting global technology standards for hospitality all over the world. And in the past 10, 15 years, the most exciting thing is that technology changes almost every 4 to 5 years, and the whole thing changes. So here's my contacts, and please do write to me or WhatsApp me, or reach out on a LinkedIn message if you like. And if there's any questions, we'll open the floor for questions now.
So, Olivia, before we take questions from the students, I have a few questions for you. So, we'll till the time the students write their questions, I'll just ask you a few of them. There's one, Arshan, who has asked a question, but since the pandemic is the latest happening in our lives, and we are living it we are living it globally rather. So, of course, what you just mentioned right now were very basic technological tools which are now applied in the hospitality sector. But with this pandemic, there are a lot of safety protocols that have to be pursued and followed at a lot of places. What kind of recent development do you find happening in the technology of hotels so that they can actually catch up on or meet up with the protocols of the pandemic?
So great question, Sabi, actually. So, contactless has always been the latest trend anyway. And what the pandemic actually helped the industry is to expedite it. So contactless, having nobody to talk to, having less and less interactions is something that has been a trend that the global CIOs of hospitality have been trying and trending towards anyway. So something like mobile key, which is Bluetooth enabled, for example, check-in, check-out without having to meet anybody and reducing the people contact. Something like the food and beverage industry, if you will, where the QR codes are, scanned to get to this is something that for safety protocols they've done. But what really happened during the pandemic was also the air purifying. Actually, according to World Health Organization, 9 out of 10 people are breathing not pure air, really. And so now there's this entire burst of electrostatic sprayers for sanitization that's getting used into hotels. And also a lot of high efficiency air filters have started getting used with UV protection and stuff into the air. So the air purification has become a very important angle which hotels are using more and more during this pandemic to make it really happen. But contactless is the way to go. And more this is where the world is moving.
So, like we have these centralized air conditions, and which kind of you can control it. Of course, every room has its own control. Do you have these air purifiers now being eventually, maybe if not, it's too early now, being installed centrally now, along with the air conditioners, which could be, controlled? Are these kind of things, this kind of technology also going to be coming in soon? Which is centralized. I mean, not that they are standalone units.
No. In a hotel environment, everything is always centralized. Everything is centralized. It's not like a home environment. Technology in a hospitality, whether it's air, so it's called HVAC, the air purifier, everything is centralized. Even the television in the room is never controlled locally. There are different. So when I used to be with Samsung Electronics, where I used to work for Samsung Gulf, heading the hospitality division, we have separate TVs which are hotel grade. Not everything is controlled into each room. Everything is done from the server room. The IT and the engineering departments have everything in their server rooms, and they have these TVs where everything is controlled completely from there. So HVAC is done in the basement of the property, and all the rooms are controlled. So all these filtration plants are put into the server rooms. So nothing is done locally at all in a property.
Okay. So another question that comes up is that since technology changes rapidly, I mean, it was never so rampant the way it is now. I mean, You have one version today, you have another version coming in, and then that goes obsolete and it's replaced, and then forget the versions coming in, another technology replaces the older one. Like the substitutes are, there is no dearth to substitutes. But obviously, change is something which now I, being a student of organizational behavior, so I'll be asking you things about behavioral aspect of employees. So naturally, the behavioral aspect of employees don't change so rapidly the way the technology changes. So it has to be pushed through them so that because eventually they are the ones who are going to implement it. They're the ones who are going to be executing these changes in technology. So how does it impact the employees to whilst they, is there any kind of resistance to it, and how do you go about it? Is there any kind of resistance to that?
Sure. That's a good question again. So typically technology is something that changes. So we feel it changes rapidly, but it's about being in touch with the technology, especially as an individual, technology changes a lot more rapidly. But in a big organization like a hotel chain where there is not only one hotel which is with 200 or 300 average room count, but that same chain has 3,000 or 5,000 properties all around the world, right? So, and they have something called as brand standards. So you don't just go out and change with every new change that comes, right? So normally a technology that a brand implements is kept with a 4 to 6 year mind frame, because any investments that is done in a hotel is always done with a 4 to 6 years of mindset. And typically every 6 years they change, everything is supposed to be depreciated. So at the capital cost, talking from the owner's perspective, at a capital cost, they actually write off the technology or anything within 4 to 6 years. And then they're ready to rebudget for a brand new upgrade, if you will. Talking about employees and how they adapt. Well, you've been cooking for so many years, or you've been doing, so 17 years that you've been teaching that curriculum or whatever. It does not necessarily change a 360 outright. It keeps upgrading. So even for our mobiles and stuff that you typically see, it just keeps on upgrading. So definitely if people keep upgrading and staying in touch, it's something which is not such a big shock. But it's about being aware, and it's about being knowledgeable. And Generation Y normally are very tech savvy. In fact, they're the ones who drive these changes most times. But sometimes it's just the speed of implementation because of the giant nature of the brands and the locations and the unique security risk that these chains have. Hospitality tends to be slightly slower than other industries to adapt and upgrade very fast because of just the nature of the big elephant, But older employees sometimes resist change a lot more than the Generation Y and the Generation Z.
So currently you have more of Generation Y on board than the Generation X, I must say then. So it doesn't cause so much of resistance in terms of technology, that is, of course.
Yes, the new people that's coming into the properties are coming, and they're more ready to adapt. And the managers and the senior people sometimes are more, resistant a little bit. But then it's all, I would normally say resistance is because of lack of knowledge and experience. So when there is education, like for example, this little session that you all have done today, and congratulations for doing that, must have opened up a little bit of, I hope, adaptability, if you will, to many people. So just a little bit of knowledge and exposure. And again, the older generation, I would say, have this major factor of change, which is fear of missing out, the FOMO, and because of which they start wanting to be open-minded and things like that, So, and this is a global threat, right? I mean, the newer generation definitely comes and does faster and quicker, or what the older ones would do. But then again, it's the experience versus the adaptability, and both mixes and blends in together, and that's what makes the industry work. So we need a little bit of both, and that's what is the beauty of the functioning of our industry.
I think that was a good one about FOMO, like no fear of missing out. So I just want to talk about Peter sir, and this pandemic. He never wanted to learn computers, but he's just done it fabulously in this pandemic, and he takes his lectures virtually fabulously. I mean, fantastic. So
Very
that's shout out to Peter sir particularly. He's done exceptionally well. So I think now people are overcoming their resistance, and they're forced to also to some extent because of the situation around us. So what kind of trainings do you have to offer? Because there are, okay, like, so 4 to 6 years, obviously you're just upgrading a particular version, right? But after that, there are sometimes that there are complete changes that are happening, right? The entire technology changes, the entire you say the unit changes. So obviously you need to train the employees, and so there has to be a transition from the status quo has to be unfrozen, and it has to be put up in the new status quo. So from that perspective, what kind of training is it? Most of the times like off the job, on the job, how?
Well, so as Rooftop Sales, what we do is we help technology companies to fit into hospitality. And again, what we help with hospitality companies to upgrade their technology. And then where they normally have an issue is to have these tech companies to speak their language, because hospitality tends to be a very different animal, like they're very conservative and a little bit, wary and not very like, quick and agile, right? Because of the structure of the number of chains and the bigger giants. But once they set it as a brand standard, then they love to follow it for 4 to 6 years, right? And then where the gap in the industry is the technology companies are so used to talking to companies and enterprises and SMEs that they don't understand how the hospitality works, and they don't understand how it's important for the hospitality to have standards and similar look and feel and similar experience for their guests, whether it's in China or in Europe or in US or even in India, right? So that's the entire challenge. So when we work with these global tech companies, we try to educate them about what's the mindset of these hoteliers. And then again, the hoteliers and their teams need to get educated about how they can use and adapt to the IBM Watsons, if you will, that's coming up. So definitely comes with a lot of trainings. There can be classroom, there's on the job, there's role plays. So there's a lot of trainings done with the tech companies, and there are people who can train effectively to the hoteliers, and also at the hotel level where people are educated to do their own. Like for example, a very classic example for this, especially the biggest impact that the industry is facing is the reservation system. Like Opera and Fidelio is the 80-90% market share for the 5-star chains for the reservation system, in a hotel. And then there were the likes of the new ones coming, and then Hilton wanted to come out with their own on-cube hotel reservation systems, and they said, I'm going to have my own for security reasons, and we're not going to use the public Oracle reservation system, and we're going to use our own and stuff. And they went and created their own. The biggest challenge Hilton faced is they don't get any trained front office people anymore, because everyone is trained on how to use the Fidelios and the Operas of the world. And not everyone is very aware of how to use the on-cube reservation system. And because of which Hilton also have a problem with the turnover and stuff like that. And it's not very easy to replace that front office staff who does not know the new technology and things like that, right? So, but of course, it's all about training, and it's all about role play, it's all about on the job and stuff like that. The more adaptable the teams are, the more open-minded people are, the better the fit is. Because yes, core departments, but without technology, none of the core departments will function. If the housekeeping does not know how to use the technology to make it happen, where the room is cleansed or not cleansed, or be able to use the IP minibar, IP based, which automatically communicates, and even the safe lock. Because today, housekeeping doesn't need to go and check anymore when the guest checks out, whether the room is, has the minibar been used or has the safe been emptied. No more. It's all automated. It's all IoT. It's all linked to the PMS. The reception will already know whether something was used or not. It automatically charges to the bill. But if housekeeping cannot understand how to use that technology and the system, it's going to be, restrictions in terms of adaptability.
I'm sure. So, you just mentioned that there's so much of contactless service, I would say. Like people don't want to connect with the staff, obviously there would be apprehensions and anxiety among students already with this pandemic, of course, which will eventually pass on and people will start traveling sooner or later. But with technology replacing people, okay, what are the chances of the students or prospective hoteliers? I mean, are there still uh, good enough job prospects for them? Because I'm sure when you made this statement that, you know, uh, contactless service, that kind of apprehension or anxiety, I rather, would come with these prospective candidates that then what are we here for? So where do you see that, and what do you see that with this kind of scenario, what do you see happening?
That's another classic question. So I love to say that technology runs the task, but people run the technology. So it's important to look at the bigger picture, become the managers, look at the bigger functioning, go higher than that small role. Don't go myopic, go hypermetropic, right? So you've got to look at the bigger picture. You've got to have the managerial mindset. You've got to start looking at strategy. You've got to start looking at ROI. You've got to start looking at how the whole thing makes money and how the whole thing fits together, and keep the guest as your central focus. So if some things can be automated, why waste time? If a robot can do something, but what is that something that the robot can do? Where is that value add? Because you today, as students of hospitality, know exactly what goes into doing that little task and knows exactly what that quality standard should be, know exactly where it's compromised and where it's not. So look at a more managerial focus. Don't just talk about going and cleaning the floors. There's no value in it. So think about what you can do to make it faster, make it effective, make it impactful. Try going a little ahead of your learning curve, because that's what the industry would need. And if you can get something, it should be you who should be saying, let this get done and let's work on this one, because that's the new trend of how we want to get it done. So look a little ahead of the boss, and people run the technology. IBM Watsons will not be able to do, they will be able to do what you tell them to do. So that's where you want to get involved.
So that's where it is rightly said in today's time and era, which I keep telling my students, you don't need to be a specialist, you need to be a generalist if you want to climb up the ladder. And like Nikola Tesla said it 100 years back, when wireless is perfectly applied, the whole world will be converted into a huge brain, which is in fact, it is, and all things being particles of a real and rhythmic whole. So that's where we fit in, and we shall be able to communicate with one another instantly, irrespective of distance. And we are actually living that, which he thought of 100 years ago. So kudos to that man, obviously. So let's take up a few questions now from our students.
So while I'll add one thing to that, Sabby, and it's just that people skills is becoming more and more important. How do you lead? How do you get structured? How do you get things, focused and, structures in your people skills is something, team leadership and speaking, people skills is something that is extremely important. How do you motivate and how do you get things done? And how do you lead? These are the important areas. If people, today's students, and unfortunately academic curriculums don't touch on these life skills. To survive and sustain in any organization, these are the life skills which we need to touch. And you great educators and leaders of the education society, this is what I would encourage all of you also to bring to your students and make it happen for them.
And absolutely, I mean, that is why lectures are important, because if the students have this misconception that we are only going to be dealing with the curriculum, with the syllabus, but attached to the syllabus are so many life experiences and, so many examples that come in, which is what they need to take along with them. That is what they need to take along. It's not just the curriculum. So if they think it's okay not to attend a class, that doesn't serve a purpose, because there's more to the curriculum, more to the class than the curriculum. So there's a question by Arshan. I had been personally in one of the blockchain since few years, but in our country, a lot of people having fear and doubt of cryptocurrency not being too much stable. So, how do you think people are going to adapt this technology completely in our country, especially in the hospitality industry?
I'll answer that with an example. So when I was 14 years old, no, not 14, I was 16 years old, and my first job ever in 1996 or so, right? My first job ever that I got was to sell mobile SIM cards, and that was the time when pager was there, and we had landline phones. Everyone had landline phones, and then the pagers had started coming in 1996. I don't know if you guys were even born that time, and I had just finished my schooling, and to get some pocket money, I got a freelance whatever commission only where I could sell mobile SIM cards. Now just understand this, okay? Mobile phones that time were very, very expensive. Mobile phones that time was for the most leisure and the rich people, right? It was probably definitely not my society. That wasn't the area, the people that I had around me, right? Because we were like middle class and stuff like that. The people who would afford mobiles were much higher class than us, right? And in spite of it being such an expensive thing, the per minute call from Max Touch, BPL, all that time was like 16 or 23 rupees outgoing and 18 or something for incoming, correct? And in spite of that,
Absolutely,
if it was an
me of our
important
big school days, the small little phones that we used to have, Nokia ones,
Nokia,
33
right?
ones.
The big boxes, the pencil box. The mobile phones were like a pencil box that time, right? The big Nokias and stuff for expensive. But the most important thing here is for every important call, people would never use the mobile. If it was an important call, you will go to the landline and make that call. In spite of it being such an expensive thing. And that is where blockchain is right now. And today, if you see, landline phones have gone away and everything has become a mobile phone, right? So it's just a matter of time. And I remember when I got into hospitality initially, there was always this normal telephone handsets, and this is a little technical, but there was a coaxial based telephone system in every hotel, which does not cost money. So if you know, in Dubai, we have Burj Al Arab, okay? It's like one of the world's biggest, tallest, whatever, right? Made in the middle of the water. And they ran on the coaxial technology because they're in the middle of the water. But then when the technology moved, it became IP. Everything's become, no more anything is analog. Everything is IP based, right? So it's intellectual protocol, right? Which is a lot more faster, a lot more advanced. And still that hotel did not, for the longest amount of time, have any IP cabling in that property to run IP-based telephony. So it's just a matter of time when this will become the new basic and robots will become the new basic. It's just a matter of time when, so resist it all you will, but India today is the biggest market for cryptocurrency right now. I mean, the population and the size of India, you cannot ignore, right? And people who've got into it have got into it. But of course, it's not got legalized. Like I said, blockchain and stuff is going to become the payment way of working eventually, but it's not yet there. So it's a matter of time, it will come. But it's going to replace the currency because the clarity and the transparency this technology brings is the next level of what the world needs. So to bring out the corruption out. So yeah, but let's see. But don't resist it is what I would say. Keep your mind open.
It has yet to be legalized in India though. And
yeah, it's not legalized
it's
in
the same
parts.
Like it's the same way when I would say online shopping became like, it was like, who the hell would really buy anything without even looking at it? And here we are doing everything online today. Like Tim Berners-Lee, rightly said, there was a time when people felt internet was another world, but now people realize it's a tool we use in this world. So, we are at the other side now, so that's how it is. There's one last question which I don't know, but we'll still, since she has put in, we will still take it up. Farheen asks, my question is how to improve global technology. I mean, technology is always improving, but still, Alifia, if you take this question.
how to improve global technology. I think, honestly, to be very honest, technology is a buzzword. Yeah, I mean, sometimes it just complicates things much more than just for the sake of technology. You know, we just. So I think it's very important to keep the relevance, keep the common sense element on it. Like, I'll tell you honestly, where we had a case in Dubai where the smart room technology was installed in one of the Millennium hotels. Okay, so everything is controlled from the bedside mobile and things like that. And these guys that time had not put any normal wall sockets for lights at all. So they had gone to extreme techno savvy. The TV was in the mirror in the bathroom. So when you're in the bathroom, you can watch the entertainment on the mirror in the bathroom from the TV and stuff. And everything was so high tech. And there was a gentleman who was like 55 or 58, and we got a comment from the hotel guest services that he was struggling to even switch off the light when he wanted to sleep in the night. And he was like, "Can I just sleep?" You know, and I don't know. And he had to call room service for switching off the light. You know, so I think it's very important to keep the user adaptability, to keep the common sense, and go only with the pace at which it is. So hospitality normally is not as fast as the industry or in the world that moves. They're normally 1 or 2 steps slightly behind. But the technology that really works in hospitality is how you can control centralized, how you can control maybe 300 rooms centralized, and then how the guy sitting in Europe can control all the 3,000 hotels that they have from their office. And that's the intention of the technology that drives the hospitality. How do you make this happen where you can be sitting wherever you are and still see and have the reports of what's happening in that place, and have a similar brand standard for all over the place? So the person who's using a Marriott all over the world knows how to switch on that TV and knows how the heater in the bathroom works. And that's their normal goal. That's the intention of hospitality. So don't complicate technology too much. Keep it simple and make it more user-friendly, and make sure it's common sense technology more than just for the sake of having it.
Awesome, makes complete sense, you know. So, well, technology is something we talk about it from more IT perspective, but technology, if you look at it, is existing ever since man has started existing. Whether it's the technology that was used while I don't know whether discovering the wheel or inventing the wheel, the way we look at it. Okay, the stones rolling down, and so you have rolling stones there, and stuff like that, you know. So I believe there are any more questions. Let me have a look. And yeah, there's one
If you
more.
can take a feedback about what helped or what opened up for people, you can all chat, put it into the chat. What was your biggest takeaway? What was that one thing that that spoke to you? Everyone, if you can just throw something, you know, so that we understand what was the impact of, what was your understanding from. Was it relevant for you? Was it something that was completely over the top?
No, I'm sure it's not over the top because this is a part of their curriculum. If you remember way back in 2003 or 4, when the University of Mumbai came up with the BHTMS, now BSc Hospitality Studies. So we had this subject called Management Information System, which was a third year, subject, which is today in the second year. Of course, it's always better that they go for training and do it because they need to see it as a whole. So obviously, it's of great help, and there's a lot of takeaway from this. And the last question that we take here is how technology helps in promoting, a good question rather, how technology helps in promoting and marketing tourism industry, or there are certain ways if you could advise us on that.
How technology helps in promoting and marketing the tourism industry. So we're not talking about a hotel anymore. How do you market in the tourism industry? Am I right? Okay.
Yeah, that's what I believe it says.
So marketing is important, and marketing is, I call it branding, because it's about the brand that you establish by marketing. So marketing is not just for the sake of saying and doing, but it's about showing your consistency and your brand. And when you market, and every time you market the same thing should be the first thing that comes into your viewer's mind. And that's extremely paramount. And the more consistent that is, the more effective marketing becomes. So it's very important that first, obviously, the step 1 and step 0 in marketing is having clarity in terms of how you want to be known from whatever you are positioning into the market, right? So you have to have your core identity, your core, what's your USP, whatever you want the first thing. So when I say Costa, the first thing comes to my mind is coffee. So we're not saying sandwiches, we're not saying cakes, we're not saying anything else. But first thing we say is coffee. So that is the most important. And how you use technology then is social media is there. There is Insta, LinkedIn, Facebook. That's one way of doing it. Ideally, the most impactful marketing is PR, where you go and talk, and blogging, where you educate. The best way of marketing today is educating your market, is educating your customer about whys and hows, and not necessarily selling, but more like educating the market. And technology with the AI that's come in is extremely powerful, because it caters your message to the person according to his age, according to his likes, according to what he has ever used in the past. Even the amount of data the hotels from the past so many years have. Today, the automation which is happening in the AI, artificial intelligence technology, is customizing your message to that particular person according to what his lines of interest is. Very simply, I'm sure you guys know this, but Google AdWords and all works like that. If you ever click on a certain hotel or a booking.com on a certain hotel or anywhere, that lead is going to haunt you, literally. Anything you do online, it's going to haunt you and it's going to chase you. So it's become so powerful. And if you click, for example, on a certain tourism spot, like say Indonesia or whatever, some other countries will tap that Indonesia as a keyword. And so, for example, Malaysia will start chasing you because you clicked on Indonesia. So that's how technology is making it very adaptable, and custom messages are going to according to your age, according to your, and that's happening where you even in Dubai, if you go into a mall, you will see according to your age and according to your sex and according to your, so everything is becoming extremely adaptable to what you are and what you are. And that's the secret in marketing. Talk to people what they want to listen. Don't just say everything to everyone. So that's the biggest way. I hope I answered that question. It was a little general question.
Nobody could ever believe that, or even it was unfathomable as to how can one find one's spouse or a date through technology. And here we are, where you're marketing yourself for a takeaway in matrimony and through a technological medium. So anything can be, so it's how you market and what are your ideas. That's where human intervention is important. Whatever technology can do, but without the brainchild, without humans, you can't adapt to the technology. So knowledge is, you can gain knowledge, but wisdom is how you use that knowledge is important. So it's not just the knowledge, you need wisdom if you want to grow in life as well, to use that knowledge.
The classic example is Airbnb and Uber, who disrupted the technology to make it more user-friendly for people. And today, again, the new ones that are coming are more and more in the same line. So these are small examples. And it's classic in COVID how Airbnb changed the entire structure. They completely moved away from hotels and rooms. They moved away from rooms and they became a complete delivery. So restaurants today have moved completely from serving food inside. So in the pandemic in London, I know there was a company that we consult, a restaurateur. And what they did is they moved away from serving meals because there was a lockdown. But what they started doing is they gave those marinated steak with the recipe and the ingredients to the people, and they started delivering it with the bottle of champagne or whatever, because it was a wine sort of a bar. and their food was, they were known for the steak and the wines that they have. So what they started doing is during the lockdown, they just sent a message to all their customers and said, look, nothing's changed. We're still here. We're sending and then you just choose the steak and it's marinated in the way, you just have to grill it and with all the ingredients, and they started delivering it to their customers. And that's how they started. And that's how technology is. So Deliveroo and all these apps of delivery.
The stream of water flowing freely, and then you just keep a pebble in between and still the water finds its way past,
Right.
it kind of
it's just about thinking out of the box, and it's just about thinking out of the box. So as people, stop thinking just what you're learning in your school, right? Start applying what's the end result of what it is and how you can do differently that same service to your end customer.
Like people skill is the most important thing in today's time. You need to be a smart worker. That's what is important. You need to be smarter. And smartness has nothing to do with your IQ. You just need to be smart enough with confidence. Anyways, Alifia, it was amazing. It was an awesome session. And thanks for your time. I know you had to kind of buck up because you are in another time zone and we are in another. And it was just amazing to have you on board after 17 years, and hope you keep coming. And it will still keep that teacher in you alive. And that's great. Any which ways you're a coach, but then teachers to these Generation Z, I would say they're not even millennials, they're Generation Z. So it's amazing. That's really great. It was really great to have you on board. And like it said, that it's not that we use technology, we live technology. And so it's always good to have somebody who, वो बोलते हैं ना घर की मुर्गी दाल बराबर. So you are there in the other part of the world. So probably what we say wouldn't make so much sense, but what you say and what we want is just to get across our students and they do something good for themselves in life. And I'm sure with, like I said, MIS being their main subject in the second year, this is surely helpful. Like I could identify that, they would relate to it once they are completely done with their theoretical knowledge. So thanks a ton, Alifia, and great having you back, and keep coming, I must say. It was a pleasure connecting with you after ages, eons.
And thanks for coordinating and making this happen. I hope it was valuable and useful. Do share the feedback and the comments in the chat that came in.
Some of them have commented. You can have a look in the comment section. And thank you, Kainaz and Kranti, for coordinating.
I don't get to see it. So yeah, definitely I'll see it. Do share it with me later.
Sure. Kainaz, if you could just share it with her later, whatever comments that have come in. Yeah?
Sure,
you have a lot of applause coming your way and thumbs up so that you can take away from this.
That's important. So have fun. And this is a fun industry. I'm telling you that. That's the biggest takeaway. And it's full of fun. It's full of drinks and parties and travel. And it's amazing, this industry. It's full of fun. So people are always a lot of hard work hard, play hard sort of a model. So it's really interesting, this industry. I love it. And you'll never leave it if you're in it.
Great. So, Kainaz, we are off, and thank you very much, everybody. Thank you, students. Thank you, principal. Thank you, all my dear colleagues and friends. It was amazing, and thank you, Alifia. Hope to connect with you sooner than soon. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's do it. Thank you all for listening. See you all. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Alifia. This is Team Webinar signing off. Have a safe day.
Bye-bye.